Good evening. So the first thing that the Chinese cabinet would like to address tonight was the allegations made towards our Minister of Foreign Affairs regarding misconduct, and say that all of these allegations have been proved false, and that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is currently innocent and has been proved innocent and is still operating within the cabinet. Also, we would like to talk about how the North Korea and South Korean governments have invited China to partake in a summit in which we are going to engage in peace talks, and these peace talks are going to be centered around creating a more stable and peaceful Korean peninsula, and China is very, very excited to partake in this summit. And also, we would like to say that now that we have begun to stabilize and bring peace to the peninsula, China plans to move on to economic expansion for the future, especially when it comes to RCEP negotiations. Thank you.
At this time, does the Chinese government have any comment on the assassination of the governor of the Bank of China?
So at this time, we have no comment on the assassination because of the fact that it was seen as a activity that no, we have no comment. Sorry.
How did you look to stabilize the north and southern Korean peninsula?
So our main policy when it comes to stabilizing the Korean peninsula was acting as a mediator, which we have done by gaining this invitation to this summit. And so the primary way that we've been trying to act as a mediator is through economic policies and working with both when it comes to economic measures, since both countries could benefit from economic expansion and economic growth. Yes.
What economic policies does China intend to create and exercise with regards to North and South Korea?
So that hasn't been particularly discussed yet, but what has been discussed is possibly creating some type of agreement with certain trade benefits.
Thank you, Delegate. So next we will have the delegate for the Republic of Korea.
Hello. The Republic of Korea has done a lot this past session. We went to the ACD where we discussed and reaffirmed our commitment to UN values and UN laws regarding the South China Sea and jurisdiction on islands. But the biggest meat and potatoes that we discussed, China already mentioned this, was the invitation of a summit between the DPRK, the ROK, and the Chinese government. We want to establish this summit because we believe that going forward we want a peaceful Korean peninsula, and we would also like to clarify that this summit is intended solely for ensuring the peace and stability on the peninsula. We would be looking forward to doing this with humanitarian aid and increases in humanitarian aid and reduction of these trade barriers that have limited the economic relationships between the two countries in the past. Furthering this, we would like to thank the Chinese government for acting as a mediator in this situation, and we would like to reaffirm that the Republic of Korea is looking for a solely diplomatic solution. And we would,
Thank you, Delegate.
Does the Republic of Korea have a comment on the UN Security Council resolution regarding the DPRK?
So we were asked for input in this resolution, and we responded that we had not seen the resolution and we would not support any resolution without our input. And that's something we would just want to make abundantly clear to nations with interest in the region, especially the fellow cabinets of the United States, Russia, and China. Moving forward, we can't attempt to derail any of these peace talks and summits with unilateral actions like sanctions or anything that could be detrimental to the peace talks into the future. Yes.
Is the Republic of Korea aware of the potential free trade agreement that is in circulation in the ACD currently?
The Republic of Korea is not aware of said free trade agreement, but we are certain that once it comes into more fruition, we will hear more about it.
Last session you mentioned some potential communication with North Korea. Have you heard back?
So we released a press release internationally, and we have sent the invitation for the international summit to the DPRK. We hope that with China's presence, that they will feel the need to attend said summit, and with the fact that we are simply extending this olive branch with international or humanitarian aid and food, that they will feel very comfortable seeking out our help.
Thank you, delegate. Next up, we'll have the Russian delegate.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Kremlin has instituted a program of dedicating 150 billion rubles to Syrian stability and combating the refugee crisis at large. 75 billion rubles will be dedicated to border assistance of our Eastern European allies upon their request. The remaining 75 billion will be allotted to rebuilding previously destroyed Syrian cities to provide stable homes to displaced persons. However, the Kremlin would like to remind the international community that in ensuring this aid is distributed, the legitimate regime, the Assad regime, must fulfill their position. The cabinet was also made aware of Turkish agreement to cooperation of previously discussed S-500 missile defense system trade. The Kremlin is optimistic in the progression of this deal. Finally, the Russian Federation would like to reaffirm their adamant openness to any and all nations seeking stability and strength in these trying times. Questions?
So again,
You can go first.
so again, yesterday and today, you've been mentioning the S-500 missile system. However, the S-500 doesn't even exist yet.
The S-500 is currently in development, and we will release information as it becomes available regarding this, likely during tomorrow's session.
Has the Russian government made an official statement yet about potential espionage within the committee?
Certainly not. We assure you that that is not the case. However, if information becomes available, once again, that will be made clear to the press.
With regards to the distribution of the 150 rubles to deal with Syrian aid, how willing is Russia to work more closely with the nations in the Security Council, because it has throughout their recent session become clear that Russia is remaining stalwart in their attempt to maintain the Assad regime?
Russia is certainly willing to work with other nations. However, Russia will not falter in their stance that the Free Syrian Army are terrorists, and we will not be recognizing or legitimizing any terrorist organizations in our negotiations.
There's been plenty of talks about the peace talks between the Republic of Korea and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Do you plan on following or participating in these peace talks or facilitating either side?
As Russia has stated ad nauseum, we are open to participation with any nations willing to cooperate. However, at the moment, we do not have a comment regarding that situation.
All right, next delegate will be the United States delegate.
Sure. Thank you, and good evening to all. The United States is proud to have reaffirmed its relations with the Philippines following joint naval operations with the Philippines and China. President Mike Pence recently traveled to the Philippines to meet with Filipino President Rodrigo Duterte. Bilateral relations, we hope, will certainly ensue to increase trade between the countries and to ensure that the United States can help the Philippines most effectively to defend against any potential future nuclear threat issued by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Furthermore, the United States has met, and with the guidance of the Republic of Korea, has met with several member nations to intend diplomatic solutions to the problem of the DPRK and any missile systems, nuclear or not, possessed by the DPRK. Lastly, the United States Cabinet has recommended to Congress the implementation of certain reforms for immigration promised by President Trump during his campaign. We have recommended to Congress to allocate funding towards the beginning of the construction of a border wall, towards the nationalization of the National Guard on the southern border, and the further deployment of relevant border control agencies. Yes.
How do you see a shift in your relationship with Russia?
With Russia, we are looking forward to cooperating with Russia diplomatically to mitigating the North Korean threat as best as possible. President Trump and President Putin have been known to have fostered a friendly relationship, and we certainly hope to see them work together in the future. Yes.
Is the regime that the United States is causing about the DPRK and how to handle the DPRK at all affiliated with the peace talks set up by China?
No, these are totally separate talks that have been endorsed by the Republic of Korea to ensure that they know and are willing to support these negotiations. However, they have not been set up with conjunction with the mediation talks established by China.
What is the status of possibly peace talk derailing sanctions on North Korea coordinated by the U.S. and Russia?
We hope that the status of this peace talks will further the progress of sanctions that have been implemented by the United States and Russia, and will take diplomatic solutions to the issue of Democratic People's Republic of Korea further than the previously implemented sanctions.
Thank you, Delegate. So at this time, we will bring all the delegates to the front and we'll have a 5-minute question and answer session where you are free to approach any of our delegates. So we want to open our green room.